Hi everyone, this is the weekly briefing by Cloak and Dagger. I'm Tony Nash, and we've got Albert Marko with us in an undisclosed location in Europe. So it's we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to keep it pretty brief today. We want to talk a little bit about Musk and what the conflict with Bessent and with Trump and how that impacts some of the plans. I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in LA with are they protests or are they riots or insurrection or whatever is it, and kind of what that means for the summer ahead. And also we have the US-China trade stuff starting in London on Monday. So I think that will be interesting to see. So Albert, thanks for joining. I know it's been a big trip for you. So yeah, I'm curious. You wrote a piece on Bessent on late last week, and we saw the news about Trump and Musk getting into a little bit of a scuffle, and then uh, Musk and Bessent getting into a literal scuffle outside the Oval Office. And when I see this, I think, I mean, these guys are all huge egos. So I don't find it. I mean, I'm surprised it's this public, but I don't find it surprising that they agree or disagree, sorry, even this aggressively. What's your read on what's going on with those guys?
I mean, honestly, Tony, it's status quo
Yep.
of how things operate, and I mean, this is the world of information moving at lightning speed. So you'll hear about stuff like Bessent punching Elon in the eye and whatever, but that's happened. I mean, for the last 50 years plus in DC, when you have arguments from big egos, right? I mean, Elon thinks that he knows politics. He doesn't know shit about
He thinks he
politics,
knows
right?
everything.
Well, whatever. I can copy a lot of stuff too. Give me a few $1 billion, But but the thing, naturally, Elon is a salesman, a huckster, whatever word you want to throw out there with the guy, and he's got an ego, and it's well known. And he ran up against Bessent, which isn't going to take shit
Yep.
from someone like him, right? Especially when you start questioning his motives and his policy actions at the Treasury, as if Doge was going to come in there and actually make a difference. No, it was never going to make a difference, right? It was purely to appease the public from the Beltway side of the optics, while Elon and his merry crew of 20-year-old programmers thought they were going to change the world, right?
Right.
And those two things clashed, and personalities clashed, and here you go. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm actually quite surprised that Elon lasted this long
Yeah.
before agitating people.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm surprised he had the attention span to focus on it this long, to be honest. And I actually think Trump's played it off pretty well over the past 24 or so hours. He said, "Hey, I wish Elon well. I'm not surprised you disagree. That sort of thing." I think he's played it off fairly well, given how weird some of the tweets from Elon were last week.
Yeah, I mean, Trump played it like he's supposed to play it. He's not going to get into a public spat talking about Epstein lists and so on and so forth. I think Elon overstepped his bounds making a comment like that. I mean, it's very childish, very stupid. I mean, if it was true, do you think that the Biden administration would have sat on that for this long? Come
Right.
on. That's silly, right? So I don't know what the purpose of Elon saying such a thing was. I mean, like 50% of me thinks it's a real spat. The other 50% of it is me thinking that it's just a distraction that these guys are orchestrating for something incoming, like a
Yeah.
market correction. So I don't know what's real and what's not. It's really to be determined in the next 3-4 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, this thing being staged, it's plausible to me. I don't really care. I mean, I care more about what's happening on Monday between the US and China. I care more about what's happening in LA with the deportation. So let's talk about LA for a minute. I know you're in Europe. What have you seen much coverage there?
Yeah, I actually have seen quite a lot of it just because I'm on Twitter and I see it all over the place. I mean, I really want to know who's orchestrating, who's organizing these riots in Los Angeles. Is it the same network that did it for the BLM people? now trying to reorchestrate another like social crisis in America. I don't know. That's the question that I really want to find out.
Yeah, there's the Twitter feed, Data Republican. She's really dug into a lot of the funding sources of this stuff, and it's actually NGOs that get a lot of federal government funding. So you have federal government funding going to NGOs to fund protests against the federal government. That's how stupid we are in the U.S., right?
Yeah,
So
but a lot of it Soros funded. I mean, it's
yeah,
in the United States and outside of the United States, specifically where I'm at now. U.S. aid has been a big proponent of like funding those NGOs to have democratic protest.
yeah. So now, when we look at, say, the summer of love in 2020 versus the potential summer of love in 2024, I think we're in a very different place as a country. Like, I think in 2020, people were just shocked by it and they just didn't really know what to do. I think in 2024, I don't think people really want to put up with it. Do you like, is that the sense that you get?
Yeah, I mean, listen, 2020 was like a shock and awe to the U.S.
Yep.
So U.S. society. Things were burning, protests were happening, police were nowhere. I don't think anybody wants to see a repeat of that. On top of that, we also had COVID, which made people stir crazy, which fueled a lot of these protests.
Yep.
We don't have that now. We're in a completely different place. We're coming out of the COVID crash and COVID like lockdowns and whatnot. It's still fresh in people's minds. No one wants to return to such a society where they see, their own cities being burnt to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's different this time. I just don't see it as, I don't see it as serious. I think well, we've already seen it get violent in LA. So where it gets serious, I think it will intensify really quickly, but I suspect it'll just be put down this time. And
yeah, I don't think it's going to spread across America like the BLM stuff did, right?
Mm.
You're not going to see some of that stuff in Florida. You're not going to see that stuff in Georgia and so on and so forth. This will be really limited to California, maybe parts of Texas, but that'll be.
Wait, Texas? What are you talking about? Yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, you got Houston and you got down by the border. You never know how these things. There's a lot of people on the ground in those grassroots, those NGOs.
Yeah, it's been interesting also that this has been used as an opportunity to round people up. So they protested against rounding people up for deportation, but a number of the people protesting were illegal, so they were arrested and rounded up, and now they're leaving, right? So it's just this, loop of deportations, which, fine. I mean, I think Tom Homan would be happy about something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't understand what these protesters are going to achieve. Like, you go to a Home Depot and you're an illegal alien trying to protest deportations, you run the risk of getting arrested and deported yourself.
Sure.
Like, what are you doing? It's like,
Yeah, Again, I think it's something that a lot of the U.S. is just they're just fatigued by it and they just want it done. And they just want it done. There's a lot of fatigue in the U.S. and I think a lot less fear of being labeled a racist or being labeled, whatever, for holding certain views. And I think that, tell me, you're in Europe, is that kind of fear of being labeled a racist for saying that illegal people or refugees in Europe need to be deported? That used to be kind of a Hungarian thing. The Hungarians believed that, and they were kind of the intolerant racists of Europe. Is that spreading in Europe where people want more deportations of illegal immigrants and refugees?
Yeah, the Europeans do want to crack down on immigration, and you see that across multiple countries, Germany specifically, and Austria and the UK. The problem is that you don't want to be labeled a racist because anything you say that's anti-immigrant is immediately classified as a racist, and you get put on a list, and then it's a problem for you socially in that country. Yeah. However, you do see a lot more anti-immigration, like at least common sense. They try to label it as common sense migration policies that need to be happening. But that's all the center right and the right has been saying for a long time in Europe. I mean, it's not like the European right is some kind of fanatic fascists. By no means is that correct.
Yeah.
Most of the right in Europe are center left in our view.
Yeah. And so while we're on the topic of immigration and we're about to swing to Asia a little bit, let's have a little reality check about how tolerant Asian countries are about immigration. So is Japan tolerant about immigration, Albert? Like, would they allow, I think they allowed a total of 20 refugees to come in during one of the Middle East, I think from Iraq or something. They allowed a total of 20 refugees to come in. And can you tell me about how tolerant China is toward immigration and refugees and illegal? Like, is there I'm acting ignorant here, but I want a serious answer. Are the large countries in Asia tolerant about immigration and refugee status and illegal immigration going into their countries?
Well, you really have to separate each country differently. I mean, China is about a billion people. They don't want nor they need immigrants at the moment, right? Japan and Korea are on a different spectrum because their falling birth rates is so devastating to their future economy that they're forced to allow immigration in the coming years. No matter, even though they don't like it and they're very unaccepting of outsiders, they have no choice. I mean, they even had visas of like birthing visas. If you come and have a kid in Japan, they'll give you a visa.
It's highly orchestrated, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, there's nothing disorganized or kind of illegal about it. So, okay, so let's before we move on for the US, I want to go back a little bit into this piece about Bessent that you wrote on, I think, Friday. Tell us what's going on and what's going through your mind about Scott Bessent.
He's a liar. He's a big fat liar. He lied to the bond market holders. He lined up the banks to come at the bottom to expand credit. He is nothing more than a plant from the Soros network, sitting there enriching all the hedge fund guys and giving them signals of when to buy and when to sell. And it's the same thing as Janet Yellen. In fact, I have a really close colleague of mine, and he, as right wing as you could possibly get. And he mentioned to me, he's like, I actually miss Janet Yellen. At least she was somewhat truthful to the insiders and the bond market holders of what she was doing. Scott Bessent is absolutely not. He's going to lie all the way. He's going to expand the deficits. He doesn't care one way or another. He's only there to enrich his buddies, right? And Trump putting him in the position where he is was nothing more than Peter Thiel and those crew acting in their own self-interest. And this is where we're at right now. We're gonna probably see 6,500 in the ES and then a crash and then another surge, and then by the time Bessent's out of there, who gives a shit about the U.S. economy? Who gives a shit about growth? It is what it is. Everyone got paid.
Interesting. Okay. So I want to ask questions, but we'll do that maybe next week because I know we're a little bit limited on the time. Okay. And then we've got China and the U.S. Meeting in London for trade discussions on Monday. So what do you expect?
Nothing. I expect nothing. I mean, they're so far apart from an actual deal. I don't really expect anything but a few positive statements from one side, followed by negative statements a month later. It's the same playbook they've been playing for the last few months. I think that a real China-U.S. trade deal will probably come in the late fall at the earliest. But these are sensitive topics on both sides that can't be done over a weekend or two. It's got to be done in stages. I don't really see, real communication between the two, because when they do take one step forward, it seems like 3 steps back by the Chinese, right?
Right.
And whether they're playing the long game here, it's most likely my scenario for them is they're going to keep buying gold. They're going to keep arbitraging for dollars. And they know that Bessent and Trump are going to probably take the dollar down to 93 on the DXY. Yep. So why not buy dollars there with gold? And exactly. It's a perfect arbitrage for them.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think we're going to have any big takeaways from this. I think both China and the US will try to make more of the meeting than it is, but they'll make more of it in different ways. But as we've said for months, it's not nothing is really going to come until say the beginning of Q3. We'll start to see some progress, and then maybe late in Q3 we'll see some breakthroughs maybe. But yeah, there's not a lot coming. Markets will rally on it just because they're looking for an excuse to rally. But I seriously doubt we're going to see major breakthroughs this week. So, all
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Albert, thanks for your time. I know you're traveling. I know there's a lot
That's
going
all right.
on. Really appreciate this. For everyone watching, please like, subscribe, put questions to us. Join our Patreon, which is below. You can put questions in there, read all our stories, and you'll be smarter for it. So, Albert, thanks very much. Safe
Thank
travels.
thank
All right,
you.
bye.